It was night. The town was small, yet full of mystery. The streets were narrow and deserted, as if every wall and every stone carried the scars of time. The old buildings had broken windows. The shadows of trees stretched long and frightening, and the air carried a strange, unsettling smell. At the very heart of the town stood an old stone bridge. By day, it looked ordinary, but as evening fell, people avoided it. The moment the sun disappeared, doors locked, shops closed, and silence swallowed the town. Only one thing remained: the bridge screaming in its silence. The townsfolk whispered that at night, one could hear a woman's voice on the bridge. Sometimes faint sobbing, sometimes footsteps, and sometimes a shadow that seemed to watch from within a mist. Children were always warned, "Don't go near the bridge after dark, for she is there, the one who never lets anyone return." No one ever said who she was. Everyone had a different story. Some said she was a young girl who had been betrayed. Some said she was a bride, murdered and thrown beneath the bridge. And some believed she was not just a restless spirit, but a soul imprisoned, seeking justice. Emily had come from London, a young journalist, brave, fearless, and addicted to the truth. She had one goal: to separate fact from fiction in the town's ghost stories. She used to say, "Scary stories are nothing but shadows of fear. The real truth always comes out sooner or later." But the townsfolk were not convinced. An old man warned her, "Child, you don't understand what this bridge is. It is no ordinary place. This is where even time stands still." Those who had gone there returned, yes, but never the same. Emily only smiled, but the curiosity in her eyes grew stronger. The following night, she arrived at the bridge with her camera and notebook. The moon hid behind drifting clouds. The air was unusually cold. The river below looked black, its waves adding weight to the silence. As Emily neared the bridge, she felt something off. This silence was not natural. It was as if someone walked beside her, as if someone's breath lingered, broken and heavy, right next to her. Standing in the middle of the bridge, she pulled out her camera. The moment she clicked a photo, she thought she saw it. Through the mist, a faint figure of a woman. Long hair, a white dress, and hollow, empty eyes. Emily touched the railing of the bridge. The stones were cold, but they felt damp, unnaturally damp. She wondered, is this moisture from the river, or something else? The next morning, the townsfolk heard that Emily had gone to the bridge. They gathered around her. A woman said, "You should never have gone there." A young man muttered, "Anyone who spends a night on that bridge changes. Some never speak again. Some lose their mind." Emily wrote down every word in her notebook, but inside her, the fire of curiosity burned even brighter. She decided she would stay longer the next night. Once again, night crept over the town. Streets emptied, doors shut tight, lamps went dark, and Emily slowly made her way towards the bridge. Her footsteps echoed through the silence, while the bridge, drowning in mist, seemed to be waiting for her. Emily carried a small lantern-like bulb as she walked toward the bridge. She knew this night was going to be different. The bridge lay hidden in thick mist. The river flowed beneath like faint whispers. The moment Emily stepped onto the bridge, she felt a strange heaviness, as if she wasn't walking on ordinary ground, but stepping into another realm. The whispers grow stronger. At first, she thought it was the wind, but soon the words became clear. "Don't go to the middle." Emily froze, but her heart pushed her forward. She opened her notebook and began recording the sounds. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes were filled with determination. As she reached the middle of the bridge, the mist grew denser. Suddenly, she felt someone standing ahead. Through the fog, a shadow began to take form. A woman's figure, dressed in white, long hair swaying in the wind, and a face caught between light and darkness. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She whispered to herself, "This is the moment I came for." The shadow moved closer, becoming clearer. A young woman, sorrow carved into her features, emptiness in her eyes, but with a faint spark of pain deep inside. In a low voice, she spoke. "This bridge is mine, stained with my blood, and you dare to come here?" Emily shivered, but steadied her voice. I came to find the truth. Who are you? The spirit stepped forward in the mist until her face was right before Emily's. My name is Eleanor. I was young like you. I dreamed, I hoped, but my dreams betrayed me. Her voice broke. This bridge is my torment. My blood was spilled here, and since then, my soul has been trapped. Every night, every moment, I relive the same time. Emily's heart raced as she asked, Who killed you? What? In Eleanor's eyes flickered both light and shadow. The one I gave everything to, the one I loved, the one I trusted. He made promises, showed me dreams. Then, he called me here, to this very bridge. He said he would marry me, but in his eyes, there was no love, only greed. Her voice grew louder. I was blind. I believed him, and he pushed me. The river took my body, and the bridge imprisoned my soul. Emily's hands trembled as she shut her notebook and looked straight into Eleanor's eyes. I will set you free. I will tell your story to the world. Eleanor smiled, but it was a smile filled with fear and sorrow. Many have promised. None have succeeded. Will you, Emily? Emily drew in a deep breath. I'm a journalist. Truth is my strength. A heavy wind swept through the mist. The stones of the bridge glistened, their dampness turning into a crimson stain, like fresh blood. Eleanor's eyes glowed faintly as she moved toward the railing. Her final words echoed. Find the name of my killer. Only then will this bridge find peace. Emily's heart pounded wildly. Now she knew this wasn't just a ghost story. This was a murder buried in time, that Emily's eyes were sleepless. All night, she kept repeating the words Eleanor had said. Find the name of my killer. Only then will this bridge find peace. That sentence hammered through her mind. When morning came, the town returned to its usual rhythm. But for Emily, the day was far from ordinary. She wrote clearly in her notebook, This is a murder story. I must find the truth. Emily went straight to the town's old library. It was quiet and dilapidated. The scent of old books and files held buried secrets of the past. An old librarian sat there whose eyes seemed to know everything. Emily said, I want information about a girl named Eleanor from many years ago. The librarian looked up in surprise, then replied softly, Eleanor, that name isn't spoken here. She's a forgotten tale, my child. Emily persisted. At last the librarian pulled out an old file from a pile of worn records. Dust clung to it. Inside the file was a photograph of Eleanor, smiling, dreams shining in her eyes. Beneath the picture was a small news notice. Young woman drowns in the river. Police rule it an accident. Anger flared in Emily's eyes. She said, This wasn't an accident. It was murder. The old librarian replied slowly, Perhaps you're right. But many in this town remain silent. Some saw, some heard, but no one is willing to speak. Emily spent the day visiting different houses in the town. She spoke with elders, women, and young people. Each time people heard Eleanor's name, they fell silent. Some averted their eyes, some lips trembled. An old woman, just before closing her door, said only, he was a boy from a respected family in the town, a man who was never accused. Emily's hand shook around her notebook. Now, she had a lead. The killer was not an ordinary person, but someone with power and standing. When night fell, Emily went back to the bridge. She called for Eleanor. From the mist, the same shadow appeared again. Emily said, I've learned that your killer wasn't an ordinary man. It was someone the town still protects. Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes. Yes, he was considered the pride of the town. Everyone trusted him, and he betrayed my trust. Emily silently resolved that she would not step back now. Only one purpose stood before her, to unmask the true face of Eleanor's killer. Whispers rose again in the bridge's stony air, as if even time itself wanted the truth to come out. Emily kept hearing the same name again and again from the library and the townspeople. Charles Harper. The Harper family was the richest and most powerful in the town. Their old mansion-like house was still the town's most famous landmark. Even in people's silence you could see fear, as if everyone knew that if anyone spoke up, the consequences would be terrible. One day, Emily found a decaying old house on the edge of town. An elderly nurse lived there who had once been employed at the Harper Manor years ago. After much insisting, the nurse brought out an old box. Inside it was Eleanor's diary. With trembling hands, Emily opened the diary. On the very first page it said, "I love Charles. He promises he will never leave me, but I'm seeing changes in him. Sometimes he begins to feel like a stranger." When she turned the page, the words were even more painful. "Yesterday he said that if I did not obey him, there would be no place left for me. I'm scared, but love has bound me." A wave of pain ran through Emily's heart. On the last pages of the diary, Eleanor's handwriting shook. "He said to meet him on the bridge tonight. He had promised he would take my hand before everyone. I was returning happily, but there's a strange whispering in my heart." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She knew this was the night Eleanor was trapped on the bridge forever. The truth was that Charles had lured Eleanor with the pretense of love. When she refused to accept his darkness, he called her to the bridge and pushed her. The river stole Eleanor's breath, and the town suppressed the whole thing by calling an accident. Emily returned to the bridge. She called Eleanor through the mist. Eleanor appeared, pain on her face and questions in her eyes. Emily said, "I know what happened to you. Charles deceived you. He called you to the bridge and killed you." Eleanor's lips trembled. Clear tears rolled from her eyes and vanished into the fog. "Yes, he was my killer, but no one will believe me," Emily said with determination. "Now your story will not remain buried. I will tell everyone. I will expose the Harper family. Your soul will find peace." Eleanor smiled faintly for the first time and said, "If you can do this, my captivity will end. The bridge will breathe again." A strange calm spread through the air around the bridge. But Emily also realized it would not be easy. The Harper family's power and the town's silence stood like walls before her. Still, Emily knew this fight was no longer hers alone, but also for a wronged soul. The next morning, Emily placed Eleanor's diary on her desk and took a deep breath. It wasn't just a few pages, it was evidence. She had decided that through this diary, she would reveal the truth to the town. But as soon as she stepped out of her room, she felt it. The town was watching her. Eyes peeked from behind curtains, as if everyone already knew that Emily had discovered what they all wanted hidden. At noon, Emily sat in a small tea house. A few local men gathered near her. One of them spoke in a low voice. "Strangers don't stay here for long. It's better if you leave." Emily replied without hesitation, "I won't leave. The truth cannot be buried." Another man said coldly, "The truth won't let you live. The Harper family is still powerful. No one dares speak against them." Emily leaned forward and answered firmly, "If everyone chooses silence, then who will bring justice?" That night, Emily gathered her courage and walked toward the old Harper mansion. The mansion was drowned in a chilling silence. Shadows of tall trees danced across the windows. When she knocked at the door, a young man stepped out. His tone was sharp. "Who are you?" Emily stood tall and answered with confidence, "I'm Emily, and I know what your family has been hiding all these years. Charles Harper was a murderer." The young man's face turned red with anger. "That's a lie. Don't you dare accuse my family." Emily raised the diary in front of him. "This is Eleanor's writing. She wrote it herself, that Charles threatened her, deceived her, and destroyed her." The next day, whispers against Emily grew louder across the town. In the market, people came close and muttered, "Let this story go. It's not yours to tell." At night, groups of young men gathered outside her lodging, shouting threats. "Leave now, or you'll regret it." Emily shut her window, her heart steady, and whispered to herself, "I will not be afraid. This fight is not just mine, it's for Eleanor's soul." That night, Emily returned to the bridge. Out of the mist, Eleanor appeared once more. Tears glistened in her eyes as she asked, "Do you have the courage to speak the truth before them all? They will not spare you." Emily's voice was steady and strong. "I promise you, your name will no longer remain buried in silence. Whatever the cost, I will bring the truth before everyone." For the first time, hope flickered in Eleanor's eyes. The town now stood like a storm against Emily. But she knew the next step would decide everything. Either she would speak the killer's name before them all, or she too would be buried in silence. Emily stayed awake all night planning. She gathered Eleanor's diary, old newspaper clippings, and the records she found in the library, all into one file. Now, it was time to confront the town with the truth. She summoned the town elders, the youth, and members of the Harper family to the central hall, the very place where important decisions had always been made. The hall was full. Faces were tense, filled with curiosity and unease. Emily stepped forward and said, "I know that this town has lived in the shadow of a lie for years, a lie that trapped Eleanor's spirit on that bridge." People looked at one another. Some muttered, "That stranger is bringing up that girl again." Emily opened the diary in front of everyone and began to read aloud. Charles Harper said that if I did not obey him, there would be no place left for me. He called me to the bridge, and that was my last night. Silence fell over the hall. Edward, Charles Harper's grandson, stood up, shouting in anger. "This is all lies. Our family is the pride of this town. You, an outsider, have no right to defame us." Emily's voice was firm. "If this is a lie, then whose diary is this?" "These are Eleanor's words. Your family covered up her death, calling it an accident. But the truth can no longer be buried." The expressions on people's faces began to change. Those who had remained silent for years started speaking. An elderly witness spoke. The same old nurse who had given Emily the diary stepped forward, her voice trembling. "I saw it. That night, Charles threatened Eleanor as she walked toward the bridge. I saw with my own eyes that she never returned alone." Whispers spread through the hall like lightning. People began saying to one another, "It's true. We have all been keeping it silent for years." That night, Emily went to the bridge with everyone, the townspeople, the Harper family, and the elders. Fog spread again, and Eleanor's spirit appeared. Emily spoke loudly. "Eleanor, your story has been told in front of everyone. Your killer has been revealed. No one can keep you captive with lies anymore." Eleanor looked at the townspeople with tearful eyes. "Do you finally believe that I suffered injustice?" The town elders bowed and said, "Yes, child, we now accept the truth. Forgive us for leaving you alone all these years." Tears fell from Eleanor's eyes, but her face was peaceful. She looked at Emily with a faint smile. "You have freed me. Now I am free." The fog lifted. The burden that had weighed on the bridge for centuries slowly eased. The whispers coming from the stones fell silent. Eleanor's spirit transformed into light and rose toward the sky. Emily watched in silence. The townspeople were stunned. The bridge was no longer cursed. It shone like an ordinary bridge, as if centuries of burden had been lifted. Emily thought in her heart, "Eleanor, you have found peace, and I have fulfilled my promise." For the first time, the town breathed in relief. Moral: silence can be the greatest crime. If the townspeople had spoken the truth from the beginning, a soul would not have been trapped for so many years. Emily proved that courage and honesty can shatter darkness. For more mysterious stories, subscribe now. Like and share if you believe truth must always win.